So about 30% of the drivers that I talk to, the ones that are responding to me on some of these videos, they say that there is no truck driver shortage. They say that the problem is pay and freight brokers. If you get rid of the pay problem, you get rid of freight brokers, you won't have a driver shortage. And what they base the driver shortage off of is basically saying, hey, this is the amount of drivers that the trucking industry needs to operate at its top efficiency. And when that number drops below a certain point, they say there's a driver shortage. So it's a problem with efficiency when there's a driver shortage. So for example, we're having all types of supply chain problems right now. Is it just due to driver shortage? No, but driver shortage is a cause of the problem. It's a part of that problem. So in today's video, I am going to share with you why I think those that deny the driver shortage are doing so based off of what they think or what they believe, not necessarily based off of any hard facts, any hard data. And that could definitely be a flawed approach. So come on in, sit back, relax, and I'll show you why there really could be a shortage and you just could be in denial. So now, why is there a driver shortage? Well, it's simple. Driving a truck is just not sexy. Generation Zers, millennials are not as interested in driving trucks as their forefathers were. They are interested in doing things that are more technical than truck driving. And let's just face it, truck driving is not easy. Truck driving is for a special type of person. We're talking about somebody who's willing to stay outside of their home, stay away from their family for weeks at a time, sometimes maybe even months. So that's not something that younger people are interested in doing. And when we look at the average age of a truck driver, we're talking 47, 48 years old. And that's just like going into a church, an older church in the South in a rural area. When you take a look at that church and you see the configuration, it's a lot of older people. So that tells you that the church is dying out because there are not younger people replacing those people. That's the same thing in truck driving. When you have the average driver that's 47, 48 years old, then what you're saying is that that industry is getting older and older. So when you don't have younger people replacing those drivers, you have a shortage. And why aren't they being replaced? Why aren't the drivers being replaced with younger drivers? Well, it's pretty simple. Let's take a look at the trucking industry. We're talking about somebody that's driving from the start of their day to the end of their day. We're talking about a very mundane job. After a while, you've seen it all. It's not a whole lot to see when it's just about driving and driving and driving. People get tired of that very fast. That's why you have such a high turnover rate. And then you throw into that, it's not a very intellectually challenging job. It's not going to challenge the intellect a whole lot at all. It doesn't give you a sense of accomplishment. So when you're doing something, one of the things that you want more than anything else is a feeling that you've actually accomplished something. To drive, pick up, and drop off something to a lot of people, that doesn't give you that sense of accomplishment. So it tends to have people look in other areas outside of trucking into industries that are more exciting, that offer more, that have more to give you as far as accomplishing something than the trucking industry does. So that's why we're seeing, I believe, a lot of young people move away from trucking, not as interested in trucking because there's just not anything out there, or a whole lot of things, I should say, that attracts young drivers to the trucking industry. And now let's throw in the money piece on top of that. Can you think of any profession that makes enough money? Everybody says they're not making enough money. Everybody says they're not compensated for their value. And when we look at what truck drivers do and how important they are to the overall economy, you would think that pay should represent that. It should reflect their importance to the economy. Some people say that they make very good money driving trucks. Others say they don't. I personally think, as it concerns owner-operators, it's about how you manage your truck. If you manage your truck in an efficient way, if you understand business, if you understand profits and losses, if you know what it costs to move a load from point A to point B and what your costs are, then you can definitely make a profit in the trucking business. It happens all the time. People do really, really well as far as financial success is concerned. They do very well in the trucking business when it's managed properly. At the end of the day, what I think it comes down to is how many people can do what it is that you do. And when we're talking about driving a truck, a lot of people can drive a truck, but we do know that just because a lot of people can do it does not mean a lot of people can do it and do it very well. See, there's a difference between somebody that can drive a truck and a good truck driver. So you would think that truck drivers are compensated according to their value. Now, we know how that goes. In any industry, as I've mentioned throughout, you'll always find people that say that they're not getting paid enough. So the question is, what is enough? What is the right amount of money that truck drivers should be making? I'm asking truck drivers that. I don't know. You know your value better than I do. So what is it that you say is a good number? Now, when we're talking about on the owner-operator side of the house, it's based on loads, how much you're making per load. And we know that every load is not a $3.25 per load or per mile load. But we can say this: you are going to have loads that you do very well on, and you're going to have loads that you don't do so well on. So it's up to you to manage that truck properly, put that truck in lanes where it can make money and make sufficient amounts of money, make profit. That is your job as an owner-operator. I believe it's your job to make sure that your asset is profitable. You cannot afford to pay for a truck and all of the expenses that come with that truck and not make profit. You can't do that. You can't at least do that for a very long period of time. You only have a very short period of time if you are paying expenses, paying a whole lot of overhead, and you're not making money. So it's your job to put that truck in the best position to make money. Here's why I think you're wrong to deny that there's a truck shortage. Have you seen all the information in the news lately? Have you seen not only what the news outlets are saying, what the media is saying, but have you gone to the grocery stores to see the shelves in those grocery stores? And we haven't even gotten to the holiday season just yet. So I know people say, hey, I don't believe in the media is this or that. I think Donald Trump may have introduced you to this idea that the media is always lying. And yes, of course, the media can be misleading. I get that. No two ways about that. But you all believe in what the media says. It's just about who you decide to believe in, because all information comes from somewhere. So you obviously trust where you're getting that information. Here's how I see information. I know that there are a lot of sources that provide information. And I know information is one of those types of things that people will say anything just to get attention, or they'll say anything to try and mislead people or to move people in a certain direction. I get that. But here's how I look at information. When I get information, yes, you may be skeptical of it. You may look at it and you scrutinize it. I'm always looking at information very closely before I accept it for truth or not. When I look at that information, I see what it is, and then I look out in society. And now I can verify what it is that they're saying. When I can verify what they're saying by what's happening in society, then I can say, okay, there's enough information there for me to believe that. I don't just automatically close my eyes because it came from a certain source. I'm not one of those type of people that believe this news outlet is better than this news outlet. I think they're about all the same. The question is who you believe, what it is that you see as truth, and what do you see as false. But at the end of the day, what you see as true should be reflected in society. You should be able to see what it is that they're saying happening before your eyes, something that you can verify to say, oh, okay, this is true or it's not true. Yes, there's a lot of information in the media right now about supply chain disruptions. But not only is that information out there in the media, we can actually see that in everyday society. We can see that in the grocery stores. We can see how inflation is impacting our society. We can see how cars are now costing more than MSRP because we're having semiconductor issues. We're having problems with getting the right amount of cars on these lots. So the entire supply chain has been disrupted. A part of that is driver shortage. I think it's doing your business, doing you a disservice to deny a fact that's happening within the trucking industry. That fact happens to be, in my opinion, driver shortage. Now, the question is, how do we respond when there are certain issues within the industry? If there's a driver shortage and you are in the trucking business, how do you respond to that problem? How do you bring a solution to that problem? I think that's the question. I think that's the focus, or should be the focus, of business owners, freight brokerages, and truck drivers alike. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. It's my 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It will give you a look into the freight broker business, let you see how it works before you come into it. And then if you're interested in learning how we get the customers that we work with on a day in and day out basis, I'll leave a free link right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.